The MEN arena roared like a living creature as RickyHatton emerged from the shadows, the noise swelling into a thunderous wave that seemed to shake the rafters. 20,000 voices fused into one electrifying chant for their hometown hero, and Hatton fed off it with every spring-loaded step toward the ring. His bright, multicolored tasseled shorts shimmered beneath the spotlights, each flicker reflecting a decade of grit, sacrifice, and Manchester pride. Across from him waited Mikhail Krivolapov, the Russian ranked near the top of the WBC standings, standing silent and statue still in his plain black trunks. He brought no theatrics, no emotion, only the cold stare of a man coming to derail the Hatton Express. The atmosphere tightened as both men met at center ring, eyes locked like two wolves circling the same territory. Commentators wondered if Krivolapov's durable reputation, his granite chin, and patient timing would trouble Hatton. They wondered if the emotional toll of Hatton's camp, the grief of losing his uncle, the worry over his son's illness, the nagging Achilles that flared at night would hold him back. But the moment the bell rang, all hesitation vanished. Hatton burst forward behind a swarm of hooks, his trademark pressure instantly suffocating the Russian. Driving him to the ropes, Krivolapov replied with stiff jabs, subtle shoulder rolls, and an unsettling calm, absorbing the chaos as if reading Hatton like a book. Every punch drew gasps from the crowd. Every exchange poured gasoline onto the fire inside the arena. The fight had only begun, yet it was already clear this would not be a simple night's work. It would be a grueling examination of heart, will, and endurance, the kind of war that defines a fighter's soul. As the second round opened, Hatton continued to stalk with that relentless bounce, weaving side to side like a coiled spring, ready to explode. His punches to the body came heavy and frequent, those crushing left hooks that had folded so many men before. Krivolapov reacted with a sharpened awareness, sliding back just enough, firing short counters that clipped Hatton's chin with unsettling accuracy. The Russian wasn't flustered. He was calculating, picking moments to blunt Hatton's momentum. Still, the crowd erupted every time their hero buried a shot into the ribs. The chants grew louder, urging Hatton to turn the pressure into punishment. But Krivolapov found pockets of success, beating Hatton to the jab, disrupting rhythm, forcing Hatton to reset. The pace was furious, the kind that drains lungs and legs within minutes, yet neither man yielded. In the third round, Hatton upped the urgency, stepping inside deeper, punching in threes and fours, digging his toes into the canvas as he torqued his body into each blow. Sweat began flying in shimmering arcs under the arena lights. Krivolapov tightened his guard and fired a hard, straight right that snapped Hatton's head back, shocking the crowd into a momentary hush. It was the first sign that Hatton's forward march could meet real danger. Hatton responded by doubling down on the bodywork, bending the Russian's posture inch by inch, but Krivolapov refused to wilt, meeting fire with icy resolve. As the round ended, both fighters stared at each other with a mixture of respect and challenge. There was no quitting here, no backing off. The storm was intensifying, and both men stood firm at the center of it, ready for whatever the coming rounds would demand. The middle rounds revealed the true shape of the battle. Hatton, famous for wearing opponents down like water-eroding rock, kept chipping away at Krivolapov's foundation. His punches thumped like heavy drums, left hook to the liver, right hook upstairs, double jab, roll under, repeat. But Krivolapov's resilience was almost defiant. He began timing Hatton's entries, catching him with crisp uppercuts as Hatton dipped low, each one earning murmurs from the audience. These weren't fight-ending shots, but they were enough to remind Hatton that he was facing a man with ambition, not a stepping stone. The fifth round saw one of the first real momentum swings. Hatton cornered the Russian and unleashed a blistering barrage, a dozen punches pouring out like a storm unleashed from a broken dam. The crowd rose in unison, sensing a breakthrough. But Krivolapov fired back with a short left counter that stopped Hatton mid-attack, followed by a right hand that sent sweat spraying into the lights. Hatton didn't back off, but there was a flicker of surprise in his eyes. This opponent wasn't intimidated, he was emboldened. In the sixth, the war of wills became even more ferocious. Hatton pushed forward with a grim determination, breathing through clenched teeth, investing everything into the body, his signature path to victory. Krivolapov, though breathing heavier, held his ground and began landing stiff combinations, marking Hatton's face with swelling and red streaks. For the first time, the Manchester crowd grew nervous, sensing danger creeping into their hero's night. Yet Hatton thrived on adversity. He roared back in the final minute of the round, ripping hooks to the midsection until Krivolapov's guard dipped. A thudding right to the chin punctuated the exchange, sending the arena into a frenzy. The war was balanced on a knife's edge. By the seventh round, both men entered new territory, the realm where fatigue tests not just the body, but the soul. Hatton's face glistened with sweat and grit, his breathing heavy, but his eyes burning bright. He sensed Krivolapov slowing, sensed the cracks forming beneath the Russian's stubborn exterior. Hatton shifted gears, using quicker angles, darting in and out, overwhelming Krivolapov with bursts of aggression instead of constant pressure. The Russian tried to maintain composure, but the body shots had accumulated, stealing fractions of energy with every passing minute. Still, he fought with admirable pride, firing disciplined jabs, digging in his heels when the exchanges got violent. In the eighth round, Hatton found a breakthrough. A perfectly timed left hook to the liver folded Krivolapov's posture, the kind of delayed reaction shot that breaks even the toughest warriors. The crowd sensed it instantly. The collective gasp, the eruption of chants, the shift in momentum. Hatton pounced, swarming with uppercuts and hooks, each one echoing like thunder. Krivolapov staggered, but refused to go down, his survival instinct pulling him through a whirlwind of punishment. But the pace was catching him. His legs stiffened, his guard loosened, and his punches lost snap. Hatton smelled blood. The ninth round became a test of pure will. Hatton pressed forward ruthlessly, throwing combinations with fire and malice, while Krivolapov fired back in desperate bursts, clinging to pride as the crowd roared for the finish. Every thudding punch seemed to inch the Russian closer to defeat. The arena was a cauldron now, sweat, noise, fury, and adrenaline mixing into something primal. Hatton had dragged the challenger into deep waters, and only one question remained: how long could Krivolapov stay afloat? The 10th round opened with the tension of a drawn bowstring. Hatton knew he was close to breaking the Russian's resistance, and the crowd sensed victory approaching like a tidal wave. Krivolapov's legs were heavy, his breathing labored, but his eyes still carried that stubborn fire, a refusal to surrender. Hatton closed the distance once more, ripping a vicious left hook to the body that buckled the challenger. Krivolapov dipped, staggered, and Hatton unleashed a final savage flurry. A right hook crashed clean across the jaw, sending Krivolapov tumbling to the canvas in a heavy, delayed collapse. The arena erupted, a sonic explosion that rattled the very floor. Krivolapov tried to rise, gripping the ropes, fighting his own body's rebellion. But the damage was too deep. The referee reached the count of 8, 9, 10. It was over. Hatton had unleashed hell and earned victory through sheer ferocity. The crowd roared as Hatton raised his arms, emotion mixing with exhaustion. This wasn't just a win. It was a statement, a reminder of why the boxing world adored him, why Manchester treated him like royalty, why his name echoed across the sport. Krivolapov, beaten but unbroken in spirit, nodded respectfully as he was tended to, acknowledging the storm he had endured. Hatton walked to each corner of the ring, saluting the fans who had lifted him through pain, through fatigue, through doubt. The announcer's voice boomed over the speakers, declaring the winner by knockout. Hatton stood in the center of the ring, bathed in lights and thunderous applause, a warrior victorious after 10 rounds of unrelenting war. This night would be remembered not just as a win, but as a testament to heart, the kind that can only be forged in sweat, fire, and the roar of a Manchester crowd.